In this tutorial, I'm going to be making the Mega Dream Bag. This was another pattern and kit that the Quilted Cow sent to me in my ambassador box. I've not made one of these before, so this will be my first time. But this is by Bodobo Bags, by Ticklegrass Designs, and it's supposed to be a bag that can hold all your notions for sewing, or you can absolutely use it for whatever you would like. So I got a kit. I've already cut everything, and these are my straps, and all my other pieces are over there, other sewing projects too. And so what I've done is I've already fused my interfacing to the middle of my strap piece, and then I found the center and I folded in my long raw edges to my center, and then I folded it in half and pressed it really good. And then these right here are what are these called? The handles. Okay, so this is gonna make this part right there. So all I've done is taken it in long ways. It was long ways, and I found the center just by folding it in half, giving it a good finger press, and pressing this raw edge. So now I'm going to find the center of my handle strap here and place this under it like that, and then this part here, the raw edges are going to fold in. All right, I have to recenter it, and then this is going to fold. This is going to fold over like that. All right, so it's going to be my handle piece there in the middle of my strap. All right, so there it is, all finished. There's the top stitching all the way around, and then that's what it looks like. And then I'll do the other one. So here's my strap, and I'm just going to fold it in half so I can find the center and just give it a good finger press. And then I'm going to open it up, put this piece. Now I know where the center is because the raw edges have folded into the center here. So I'm just going to lay that in the middle, you know, center it the best I can with the middles matching up. And then I'm going to fold the top down in, and then I'm going to fold the bottom up and over. And then I'm just going to take, once that's folded, I'm just going to take it, and now you can press it as well. And I'm just going to fold it till the edges meet and give it a clip or two. And then I'm going to take it over to the machine and sew all the way around it. Just make sure that when you're sewing, if your fabric moves, just make sure to tuck it back in. All right, there we go. So here is one of my outside panels, and if you're looking at your pattern, it's this panel right here that I'm using right here that'll make the bottom of the bag. So I chose this fabric to cut from my kit, and all I did was place my handles according to the pattern. I measured in so many inches from each side, I clipped them, and then I basted them in place. So now we're going to take the top piece, which I have this really pretty yellow, and I'm just going to lay it right side down on top of my fabric here, and I'm going to just make sure everything is aligned, and I'm going to clip or pin in place, and then I'm going to sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way down. So here's the panel, and it's attached, and what I did was I ironed that seam down, and then the next step was to take your, the pattern calls for fusible Thermalone, but I don't have that, but I do have Soft and Stable, which is what I cut, and it should be a little bit shorter. The pattern will tell you how much. Mine isn't exact, but I got it in there. And mine wasn't fusible, so I went ahead and used my fusible powder and fused my Soft and Stable to my panel. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to pin this in place. I'm going to put a pin here and a pin here so the straps don't shift. But now we're going to basically mark whatever you want. You can mark lines close together, you can mark lines farther away, you can use a straight line, you can use a special stitch, which is probably what I'll do. The pattern says to mark about a 1/2 inch apart when you're going up, but you're going to be basically top stitching up on this part. You're not top stitching down here, just up here, and this will secure the handles really well in place. So you can follow the pattern, or you can kind of do your own thing, as long as at least I think you have 2 or 3 lines up here that will help hold your handles in place, and also permanently attach the top piece to your foam. Alright, so here's what I did. I spaced mine out about 3/4 of an inch, and then I just used the decorative stitch that I usually is my go-to and stitch down. So now that this piece is done, the other panel attaches exactly the same way. So I'm going to work on top stitching my other panel that will make the back of the bag, or the front, whichever one it gets put on. So I have my lining pieces and my 2 pocket pieces, and I have fused the wool fusible interfacing to each one. So now I'm going to set the lining pieces aside, and it looks like I'll be working with my pockets. So here are my 2 pocket pieces. I folded them raw edge to raw edge long ways, and I didn't top stitch, I sewed them 1/4 of an inch. Now I'm going to turn them both right side out, and then I'm going to press them so they're nice and flat. Alright, so here is one of my lining pieces, and according to the pattern I have measured up from the bottom so I could place my pocket piece. Now this isn't sewed down, and this is the part where I top stitch. So this is where I sewed my 2 raw edges together before turning it inside out, and that is where I top stitch. And then the other part the pattern identifies as the seam. So I placed it according to the directions where it should go on my lining piece. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom to secure it to the lining piece, and about 1/4 inch on both sides. And then I'm going to do this to both. I'm going to attach this one to my other lining piece in the same manner. Alright, so now that you have the main pocket piece stitched down, mine is stitched down there, now you get to create more pockets from your main pocket piece. So you can follow the diagram that's laid out in the pattern for how you want to space the lines out. The person who made the pattern gives you diagrams, one for one panel and the other for the other panel for a sewing bag, but this is totally customizable, so you can do whatever you want. You can follow the pattern, or you can do your own thing, making more pockets. So in this one, I've already drawn out lines, and now I'm just going to take these and I'm going to sew up on these lines that I've drawn to create the size of pockets that I want. I'm doing it a little bit different than the pattern. Alright, so now it's time to do the zipper, and this is one of my lining pieces, and I just had some length of zipper tape. I put the zipper thing on, and then I ended up stitching a line just at the end so my zipper hole wouldn't come off. And the first thing you have to do is, according to the pattern, you're measuring in so much from this in, and that's going to be your start line of sewing. And then I clipped everything in place, and at the end here, I don't have a zipper end, but I did take the end of my zipper and I folded it back about 90 degrees, just like the diagram showed. And this part here, starting where you measured in, you want to take the rest of your zipper and slant it down kind of diagonally, and I pinned it in place. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my exterior pieces, and I'm going to put right side down, make sure the handle is tucked in, and then I'm going to just reclip everything, and then I'm going to be stitching everything together using my zipper foot. So here's the first side sewn, and now I've just opened it up, and then I'm going to just flip everything back, and it would probably be a good idea to give this a really good press once you have everything lined up. So I'm just gonna fold everything back, making sure the teeth are up and everything's aligned, and then I'm going to do the same exact process to attach the other side of the zipper. Well, you know, mistakes can happen, and I was sewing these up, and I was like, there shouldn't really be a gap here when I'm getting my handles. And sure enough, When I made my handles, I forgot to stitch on this side all the way down and this side all the way down back at the very beginning. And so to try to kind of get that closed, I just put it in my machine and I just kind of stitch from here to here and here to here, and I'll do it on the other side. So don't make my mistake when you, at the very beginning, which was the first step I did before you attach this part, stitch on both sides of your handles all the way down to secure everything down. It happens. Alright, so I have the zippers done, and I don't know what my problem was with the zipper today, but I had to rip out like 4 or 5 times. Courtney says that zippers are the devil. I normally don't agree, but today I would agree. They were not my friend today. But anyway, I finally got the zippers installed, and here's the tail, and I've tucked that inside, and I've laid these right sides together, lining to lining, exterior to exterior, and I've went and I've clipped everything together, and this is my lining, and I have marked my opening because that's where I'm going to turn it inside out. Now when I sew, the seam allowance for my exterior piece side is going to be a little bit larger, and when I get to my lining, I'm going to taper it. So I'm going to come in according to the pattern, so that way the lining will be a little bit smaller than the exterior, so it fits nicely inside. And then once I taper it, I'll sew at that seam allowance all the way through. I'll back tack there, skip over here, back tack, and sew. And then when I get up here, I'll start tapering back to the seam allowance that I need, depending on where I start sewing, that I'm using for my exterior. But the pattern has a nice diagram of it, and so now it's time to sew these guys together. So now that you have everything sewed and you have your opening there that is not sewn closed, I just have to cut those strings. What you're going to do is now you're going to measure according to the pattern to cut out these corners. You're going to make a square, but you're not measuring from the edge. You're measuring from your sew line. So from your sew line out, you'll measure according to the pattern, and from your sew line here, this way you'll measure and then connect to make your square that you're going to cut out, because you're going to make boxed corners. So I messed up right there. Yeah, always measure twice, right? And then I've got them marked out here, so now I'm just going to cut them out and sew my boxed corners. Alright, to make the boxed corner, so it lays flat like that, all you're going to do is like reach in here to the corners, pull it apart, and then you just want to line up this seam and this seam. And you can even nest them together if you haven't done them open yet, and you can put as many pins or clips that you're comfortable with. But basically you're just lining up your edges, and then you're just sewing 1/4 of an inch all the way across to create your boxed corner. And I've already done the other 3, so this is my last one. So now that all the corners are done, it's time to turn it inside out, and you left the opening in your lining, and if it may help, you can reach inside and just make sure like your zipper is open, so that may help. I don't think mine is open. I left it open before I sewed. So now I'm just gonna gently, and you might have to go slow and gentle, especially the side with your soft and stable is gonna be a bit bulky, so just start pulling everything through. That's why you back tack, especially on your opening on both sides. And this is where you pray, hopefully, that everything is sewn where it should be too, that no seams are not stitched together, otherwise you're going to be turning it inside out and re-sewing. But here we go. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, there's one handle. There's the other handle. So far, so good. Not bad. Pockets are a little off, but you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm not a super perfectionist. So now I'm going to go to all my corners, and the boxing looks pretty good though, which is good to see. Oh, see right there. Somehow it didn't sew, so I've got to re-sew that, which is good. Well, let me just check my other ones. Yeah, it happens to me. And this one looks pretty good. Oh, I got right on the edge of the... That mate's right there at the bottom, your pockets. Alright, so I just gotta... There it is. I just gotta turn it inside out, and I have to redo this part because you didn't catch the material there. But anyway, from here, what you would do is, if everything was good, you would tuck this lining under. So I'm going to do this after I fix the corner. And then you're just going to top stitch this closed. This is your opening. Material's already folded under. Top stitch that closed. And then you're going to push it inside the exterior. And then you're going to do some top stitching, which I'll show you in the next step. But I'm going to go back and fix that. Well, it's done. I top stitched. This is not my most perfect thing. It's got a lot of imperfections, but you know what? I was just at a point where I was like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Some things I might do differently, like definitely remember to stitch my strap before I do anything with it at the beginning. For my zipper, I would probably not do the crazy thing, like leaving the extra outside. I would probably just sew it all in. I did mess up there on the zipper, but you know what? I'm okay. I did sew my zipper tab on here. If Courtney thinks zippers are the devil, I think that zipper tabs are on the list next. I do not like doing them. But anyway, here it is. If you open it up, you've got the lining in there, and there's all my pockets. I think the inside turned out pretty well. You know, there's just small imperfections, and there has to come to a point where you just say, I'm okay. Otherwise, I might spend forever just ripping things apart and redoing them. I definitely did with the zipper. It took me like 5 tries. I don't know what my problem was with zippers today. I kept sewing it in wrong. But anyway, I think this part also can fold down like that because those handles are placed. So if you have it as a sewing bag, you don't have to reach so deep in to get your things with the top being able to fold down. You can just, so there's a pocket, you can put that in there. I mean, really, whatever you want. If you're going to use it for sewing, you can make small pockets, you can make big pockets. You know, I even have this little ruler I got from the Quilt-A-Cow that can go in. It could just totally be a notions bag. All right, and there's still space. I mean, it's got tons of pockets. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've got like 10 pockets, and I didn't even do it according to the pattern. I kind of went off on my own. I think they have more if you do it, but anyway, there is the Mega Dream bag. And so if I made another one next time, I would definitely know where I went wrong, and I think it might turn out a little bit better, might have less mistakes, but all right, well, happy sewing!